Welcome to the Henry Harrison Podcast, Entrepreneurs, Business, and Finance. Today, I'm very happy to welcome Anthony Franco to the show. He's a repeat, I might even say serial entrepreneur, a lot of exciting things, including a current business focused on one of the hottest topics in the world right now, which is AI. And he has an interesting experience where he went on Shark Tank, which is difficult to get on. So welcome to the show, Franco. Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Henry. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
And I guess I should say Mr. Franco, but Anthony Franco. So welcome to the show, Anthony.
Yeah, only my coaches called me Franco.
Yeah, that's like my coaches called me Hank for Henry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where you are right now. And at some point, you had a really neat career. It'd be fun to go back and talk about how you got here. But right now, you have a company called AI First Principles, and it's doing some dynamic things. Can you share what that's all about?
Yeah, AI First Principles actually isn't a company. So I'm associated with AI First Principles, but that's not a company. The company that I'm
Okay.
working with, I actually have a couple that I'm working on that are related. One is First Strategy and one is Wiser Method. So AI First Principles is, let me
Yeah, I
take a
see
step
those.
back. My last company, when I left it, I started doing some fractional C-level work. And one of my companies wound up being the leader in the space of enterprise AI. They're called OneReach. And I've been working with the CEO for over a year now. And the way they delivered AI into organizations was super unique. And so I asked him if I could open source the principles that they built on. And with him and with a bunch of other thought leaders from Meta, Google, Salesforce, Amazon, developed these 12 principles that are essentially, think of them as a governance framework for organizations when they bring in AI in-house. And it's open source, free to use, free to contribute to. Just go to aifirstprinciples.com. From that, I'm still doing some fractional consulting work, but I'm more heavily leaning into AI implementation and teaching people how to actually put those principles into practice within organizations. So that's First Strategy is the consulting business, and Wiser Method is essentially the methodology behind the principles.
Got it. And you've done some work with large companies over the years, Fortune 500. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I founded a company called, me and a co-founder founded a company called Effective, and we did Fortune 100 consulting. So we built software and when online software, but not the website, but when past the login. And that company was really focused on capturing software that was easy for use for their employees and customers. So we heavily leaned in on design thinking practices, actually created the space of a user experience agency. And then eventually we exited that business to a large holding company of advertising agencies, WPP.
Oh, that's impressive that you sold to WPP and you had on your LinkedIn 40% of the Fortune 100 companies across
Yeah.
some of these major industries. And then you had on your 6-year run, 50 million in revenue. So that was a sizable enterprise and a nice exit, I expect rather.
Yeah, it was time for us to graduate into a larger organization. Quickly found out that entrepreneurs and big business, being an employee of a big business, don't mesh really well. I wasn't a culture fit. Actually told so by the executive team at WPP. And first it hurt my feelings, and then I was like, no, I didn't like any of those people. Or I wasn't like them anyway, and it made sense for me to move on and continue. What I enjoy doing is building and growing new companies.
Before that, you had helped companies grow, but you were a founder of the founders of Piper Software. And before that, a founder of Skybeam. And before that, part founder and product officer of Zudia. That's quite a number of founding companies there.
Yeah, and not on there is I opened a restaurant and sold it and did some real estate speculation, commercials, real estate stuff and sold them. Yeah, I like building as much as I like exiting.
Kind of garage, general partner. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read this on Garage Holdings, general partner founder in Denver. That's the real estate development firm I guess you're talking about.
Yeah,
Then ComCero, um,
that was the company that I went on Shark Tank with. So ComSero built a consumer product known as MC, a product line called MC Squares. And
Hmm.
we made, it was a manufacturing company. So I built a factory around what I called bespoke manufacture, small scale, small batch at scale. So we were able to create new products very quickly and launch them, and had a couple of really successful product lines at MC Squares. Got a deal from Kevin O'Leary on Shark Tank for it. And our primary sales channel was Amazon. And we were achieving $4 million dollars a year in sales, put some money on some new equipment to further handle capacity. And Amazon had a glitch in their system on our listings, and our sales went to nothing, almost nothing. And eventually, so it took me about 6 months to figure out what was going on, another 6 months to fix it. And by that time, it was too late. We actually, unfortunately, had to shut that business down. That was a hard road to go through.
With all those companies, the people that I know, and I have a friend, Calvin Carter, he started Bottle Rocket, which sold to WPP, and he was there
I
for a
know that,
while.
no Bottle Rocket. Yeah.
But in the end, he didn't stay either because it's a big corporation, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And he's an entrepreneur and a repeat entrepreneur as well. He did work there for quite a while at his company that he started with them owning it, but not forever. So the Shark Tank experience, what was that like? Being on TV, meeting all those guys?
Almost indescribable. You get really excited to get on the show. Once I got it in my head that I had a product that could get on Shark Tank, I couldn't let it go. So I tried and tried. Finally, I stood one of the producer's arms to let me on, and went through the rehearsals. And you think you're ready, you practice, you rehearse, you think you're ready, and then you're standing in front of those doors before they open. And you can feel your heart in your neck just pumping. And I can't believe I'm going to do this. And you don't know, right? So the thing that I was most worried about is, am I gonna come in and be the hero entrepreneur, which is what everybody wants? Are you going to come in and be the jerk, the villain? Are they going to cast you as the villain, or are you going to come in as the fool? And I could handle. Everyone wants to be the hero. I could handle the villain. The fool was what scared me the most, like being mocked and made fun of. But I hit my mark and said my piece, and it turned out to be a great. Something in me made it a great show. So I just decided to have fun with it. I did, and I didn't try to be somebody I wasn't, and turned out that was the right strategy. I had a blast.
Probably always the right strategy, really. People try to pretend. And I see there's a picture too, you next to Kevin O'Leary, and he's got a wild, didn't mean to
The
start that. He's
post-it
got
note
a wild,
jacket.
yeah, wild post-it note jacket on. Yeah.
Yeah, that came with the deal. So that was the jacket I wore coming in, and he wore it as I was leaving.
That's cool. Then you're doing very well right now. That was, I guess, you shut that down. When was that? You shut that down?
So the
2 years
company
ago?
filed for bankruptcy at the end of 2023.
So what's that like where you had a lot of successes, you have one that didn't work out? How do you bounce back? How do you go on to the next thing?
Yeah, there was a moment, more than a moment in time, where I I was lost, very lonely and lost, and tried my hands at a bunch of different things, trying to figure out what I was going to do next. Because I really love manufacturing, and we built something that was really special. And I just thought, the way it came down, I just was not prepared for. So it took me a little bit to figure out what I wanted to do next. And thankfully, I started doing fractional C-level work, which was great because I was able to help other entrepreneurs move the needle quite a bit. So regained a little bit of my confidence back, and then fell backwards into this AI thing. And I fell in love with the technology and the need for applying it correctly, not just as an individual, but as an organization. And it's almost as if MC Squares needed to shut down so I could do this.
And you must be comfortable with technology because you had a lot of your one of your first companies that you were a founder in was Zudia, which was software. And then of course we had the
Most of my companies, yeah, were tech related. Even the manufacturing business was heavy in technology and understanding. But what's interesting about AI now is it's really the era of the person with the idea because developing code, developing an idea into something that lives, the barrier has dropped dramatically. Do I have an advantage that I have some technology background? Yeah, but it's also a disadvantage because I understand what the quote unquote right way is. And sometimes just getting to market the wrong way is the best way. So AI is the great equalizer when it comes to letting people with good ideas and domain expertise come to market with something novel and unique. It's a fantastic time to be that person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the way that I've heard so many entrepreneurs talk about something that didn't work out. In many ways, worked out for the best because it led to the next step. And that's, I think, encouraging for all of us that go through a bad day or a bad week or a major challenge or whatever.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, I know we got into it at the beginning and then we jumped around because you had such a diverse and variety of experiences. I guess I just had one more question though. How did that work out with Kevin O'Leary? Was he very understanding and this is how it goes sometimes? And what's that
Yeah.
like when you got that partner and no more?
He was great. He was, I don't want to ruin his reputation, but he was terrific to work with. He's a
Yeah.
really good guy, quite a character. And at first, so I had other investors besides Kevin O'Leary in the business. And at first, I was not fully transparent with what was going on because I thought I'm just going to fix this. I'm just going to fix this. And then 6 months in, it's, oh, this is not working out like I thought it was going to be. And so having those conversations, the feedback I got was, you should have told me earlier. And they're absolutely right. But other than that, this is the game when you're investing in businesses. I had my own money in it too. So it's not like they lost more money than I did. So there was a lot of understanding and this is the breaks and I'll see you later. That was it. It was just they're on to the next thing and I'm on to the next thing.
So through all these experiences that led you to where you are now, that's one lesson. Transparent, bad news earlier. It's easy to say in hindsight. At the time, I just need to buckle down, work harder, don't want to
That's it.
burden them with these issues that I'm going to
I'll figure it
fix.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you have to have some of that to be an entrepreneur to start with, because it's a little bit of a leap of faith every time you jump into a new venture. Leap of faith and confidence in yourself. So, what are some other stories or lessons that were impactful in all these different companies that you've been a founder in, or even your first one, an employee of Warner Brothers, pretty darn big company? Anything come to mind on
So
something? Yeah.
big question. Usually when people ask me, should I become an entrepreneur? I answer them no. I tell them no. Don't do it. If you think about it, the odds are stacked against entrepreneurs. You're more likely to fail. You're competing against companies that have a lot more resources and a lot more time in the market. They have brand recognition. There's so many things that can go wrong that you shouldn't do it. And I believe that's true. But every once in a while, when I tell somebody that, I'll get somebody that looks at me like I'm crazy. What are you talking about? I don't have a decision but to do this. And that's the entrepreneur. If I can talk you out of it, then it's probably a good thing that you didn't start. So I do think, and it's really funny. So I have my own entrepreneurial podcast. It's called How to Founder. And I've interviewed hundreds of entrepreneurs. And one of the things in common is that what I just said is true. Entrepreneurs will not recommend entrepreneurship to their friends or family, but they wouldn't choose something else for themselves. It's this weird, it's this weird bipolar, if you will, disorder that we have. It's like, don't do this, but I'm not going to do anything other than this.
Put, and there's somebody that's been in the news a lot recently, and I want to talk to you about your podcast too. Mike, and I don't know if I can say his last name correctly, Ole, but he's the founder of Body Armor, and he sold it to Coca-Cola. It was a big number. I want to say billions. I'm
Had to
not
be
sure
three
what it,
commas. Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't sure what his participation is totally and his backing and how much was his, but he's a very wealthy guy and it's a huge success. And he's out there and he's written a book, which I think, but I've heard him in podcasts and I want to follow him some more. It's on my list, advising people against being an entrepreneur, which is interesting because you have so many people that made a bunch of money entrepreneurs going out telling everybody, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. And I have a lot of friends. I'm in the Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, and have been for 30 years, president of the Dallas chapter. And I guess it's been 30 years. Yeah, about 30 years. And joined when I was quite young. And we talk to each other and think it's great until one of us has a problem, and then we wonder. But generally speaking, I'm an advocate for entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneurs that create a lot of jobs, create
Yeah.
innovation. But like you say, would I recommend someone quit their job and go in? No, they'd have to recommend it to me and be really sure before I'd say, well, maybe you should try. Not because it almost can sound like it's arrogant. It's not. It's the opposite. It's a
I
humbleness of realizing the risks.
yeah, I first of all, it's really lonely, but also look, I think entrepreneurs are a particular combination of broken. It's not that we're better than, it's that we're just more broken than most people. And if I see somebody that has a normal life and hobbies and a, a great relationship with their family, it's like you're not broken enough.
That's really
I
funny.
wish I was normal. I wish I was quote unquote normal like that. I'm just not. I'm not built that way.
One of the things that he goes through that I've heard is he says, you can go bankrupt at any time. For five
Yes.
years, we were like times when we could have gone bankrupt before we finally sold. And Elon Musk, I think I read his biography and he's said this on podcasts. I think there's two or three times when he was a day or two away from bankruptcy and Tesla. One of them, I think he put, if I remember right, everything he had left personally into the company.
He had to sleep on friends' couches because he didn't have rent money.
Yeah, yeah. And then Peter Thiel came in at one point for a big stake, and it was a smart investment, so I don't want to say bailed him out, but if he hadn't been bailed out, then or somebody
Yeah.
else, it would have been gone. And that's the richest guy in the world. And as much as I admire him and his accomplishments, I think he would be the first to say he's not a normal person.
Yeah,
So I
and
think
he
that's
also says it's
obvious.
hard. Like he's
Yeah,
very transparent. He's not a hustle culture entrepreneur. He is very self-aware and very public about the fact that it's a hard life. Even and I think it's more true for him than anybody else because he sleeps and works. That's all he does.
yeah. So right now, tell me some stories or something you'd like to share about what you're doing more specifically. We got the principles, wherever you want to focus on what you're excited about that you can help people with your consulting, your company with AI today and tomorrow and going forward.
Sure. So foundationally, when somebody says they're an AI, what does that mean? It could mean that they work for OpenAI or Gemini. It could mean that they're working for NVIDIA on the latest AI chips. And it could mean that they're in ChatGPT 3 times a day. It doesn't have much of a foundation for what it means. And there's one gap, if you will, in the AI space. And that is how do you go from being really good in ChatGPT to bringing AI and truly operationalizing your business with AI, truly making your company AI first. And what AI first principles, the open source principles do is they lay the foundation, the constitution for the value system that you need to follow to bring AI into your organization. I would say it's good for probably $10 million in revenue and above organizations. If you're following Agile, AI first principles would be like the Agile manifesto. And the way to put those principles in practice is something called the Wiser method. And there are other people developing their own methods against AI first principles. It's just Wiser method just happens to be mine. And that's the way to take those principles and develop a process and a team around implementing that organizational practice within your company. There's 5 stages and there's a charter and just some guardrails around how to put those principles into creating perpetual innovation within your company.
So is that the outcome? Actually, I have a startup I'm working on, so not ready yet for this, but we want AI as a foundation moving forward. I come to you, and what can I expect to get as an effective path to implementation to
Yeah.
yield
So
faster
yeah,
innovation, as you said?
there's stages of AI maturity. Stage one is crushing great prompts out of ChatGPT and getting good content, or Claude or Gemini or whatever. The next one is, how do I automate myself? And I actually have, so I'm about to launch a couple of courses on both of these. Automating yourself is about, how do I bring AI tools to my desktop and do more than just copy and paste from ChatGPT, and really build essentially a digital a twin, something that can create content and publish and craft narratives and tools that help me automate myself. Then it's, how do I automate my team? And then it's, how do I automate my company? And then it's, how do I help other people automate their company? And once you graduate past ChatGPT and you're ready to get to the next step, that's where the Wiser method starts to come into play.
Also, a lot of debate in AI. I know Elon Musk expressed a lot of concern about AI being taught the truth, not
Mm.
being steered away from reality and facts and into propaganda,
Biased. Yeah,
bias.
biased. Yeah.
And I suppose guardrails would be a good discipline for that as well. Not that we're going to influence all of AI like Elon will with a company of his own, but
That's one
am
of
I
the
onto
reasons why
something
you
there?
need, yeah, that's one of the many reasons why you need a process and a methodology to follow to make sure that, look, LLMs is large language models, which is OpenAI, ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini. They all, I wouldn't say they make mistakes because it's just math. They all produce things that don't match your expectations, don't match the expectations and the desired outcomes that you're asking them to do. So it's, how do you put governance around LLMs so that you can take advantage of the probabilistic nature of them, but not let them run your company into the ground. And also, another thing that a lot of companies are doing right now when they're implementing AI is they try to automate the bad things they're doing. Like if you're automating a broken process, then you're gonna just scale bad things. So it's not just automating what you currently do, but also re-looking at your business in a way that you can automate the things the way you should be doing, not the way that you are doing them.
So what's a grounded example that someone could take home about how it helped a business? Something specific.
One of the things is, you have to be methodical. The first thing, it doesn't have anything to do with AI. So WISER stands for witness, interrogate, solve, expand, refine. That's what WISER stands for. Witness actually has nothing to do, and it's the best thing that you can do in your business, regardless of AI. And that's, you have to go in and walk the factory floor. You have to go in and talk to customers. You have to understand the problems that your employees or customers are actually having with the tools and the services and the products that you're giving them. And then and decide, one, how are you going to solve that problem regardless of AI? And then interrogate is, test your assumptions with small prototypes. Test your assumptions. It doesn't even need to be technological prototypes. It could be, we're going to put a whiteboard here and post-it notes there. And some of it is, you can vibe code stuff into a little system or a little utility. Then after you interrogate it, you solve an actual problem, which earns trust with the company that you can actually solve a problem. You pick a single problem and solve it. That's usually when you start introducing AI. Then you expand that. But when you're expanding with AI automation, you need to do that with what they call human in the loop. So everything that the AI produces, you need to have oversight over. And you, instead of telling the AI what it should do, you just let it do whatever, and you start telling the AI what it shouldn't do. You start taking away its capabilities until it solves that problem in a repeatable way. And then you refine it, and refining it is giving more and more autonomy to the operational system that you've built, and doing spot checks and having red teams try to break the system. And then you repeat the process all over again.
So what's an example of a problem to solve? Just one or two problems, something that.
I, first, there's I'm trying to contextualize that because it's very specific to organizations, and I don't want to give away like a
I
company
got it.
name.
Yeah.
But think about improving the communication between a technician that's on in the field and I have a case study. I'm writing a book on this, and the case study is an HVAC company where they're having a scheduling problem, and in Witness they figure it's not a scheduling problem, it's actually a communication problem between the techs and the people billing the customers. And we built a little system that automated that process quite a bit using AI, voice recognition, and some integrations that sped up the process and removed the bureaucracy, so the BS that you have to do as an employee, and allowed you just to say yes or no to stuff. So you're now becoming your job as an employee is judgment, not bureaucracy, which frees you up for a lot more work and makes your job much more enjoyable.
We've had Hugh Massey has a company that does behavioral support and analytics for companies. He's using AI where he can scan you and get your personality without even you volunteering to be scanned. We have a guy that on NK he goes by, and he has a company that is using AI to basically record everything on a construction site with cameras and then to use that to manage construction, which I think is really cool. People that are doing front end systems like suppliers, helping construction suppliers and companies, and then using AI to communicate with them. We had a lot of people, construction management.
Yeah.
There's a guy was very successful in building big projects around the world as a general contractor. And he wants to transfer the construction management process because construction is notoriously difficult and behind. And then people that are doing documents, and my gosh, the niches that people are now offering help on using AI. Just in our podcast, we've had maybe a
Yeah, and
dozen.
if I can expand on that, so those point solutions are really interesting. So there's a lot of companies building software with AI and with AI integrated in it, and those will help an organization move the needle a little bit. What the future is going to be
You're above that. You're like the,
above, just no, just tackling it in a different way.
or maybe
So the
below it,
points,
starting from foundation. Okay, what are the rules here?
it's something just different. So point solutions, you're buying a solution to come in and solve a particular problem, and those do work. And I would never say don't do that. But there's also the company that so companies of the future are going to have to make AI a part of the practice of the organization, how to leverage it and how to use it internally. If you're buying a bunch of point solutions and trying to cobble them together, you're missing out. It's connective tissue that you need to build throughout your organization, and everybody within your organization needs to be leveraging AI in their job, and you need to be able to build the skill set in your company to perpetually leverage and use AI internally, not tools with AI, but using AI yourself as part of your operational infrastructure.
Okay, that's, yeah, different. I understand different. So when you were a kid, you're in Colorado now, I guess
Yeah.
still? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in California, obviously one point working for Warner Brothers in Burbank. Where'd you grow up and did you think you'd be an entrepreneur and were you entrepreneurial? Did you didn't like working for people or fell into it or how did that come about?
Yes. So I grew up in Southern California, about half an hour away from Disneyland. And when I was a kid, I had no ambition whatsoever. None. So entrepreneur, not entrepreneur. I didn't know what I want. I wanted to be a football player, but was never anywhere close to being good enough ever. So I was a pipe dreamer and just I started out in restaurants, bartender, then restaurant manager, then got into lithography because my dad worked at a lithographer and started getting into computer work. I barely graduated high school because I was stuck in the computer lab all the time. So I just knew I loved computers and tech. And then realized I was a really crappy employee. So in order for my own survival, I started to do my own thing and develop side hustles and small projects and small products and just grew out of necessity as an entrepreneur, not out of ambition.
As time went on, it's been about passion, perhaps more than necessity as well, because you seem very excited and enthusiastic about all these different things you've done, or not. I don't know. You tell me.
I don't. It's I don't. I guess entrepreneurship is my identity. It's I don't have hobbies. Like I don't play golf and I don't play tennis. It's like my hobby is entrepreneurship. So I'm doing what I would do if I didn't make any money. Like I love the craft of it. I love helping other entrepreneurs do what they want to do. Like it's why I was put on this planet. So it's just why I exist. So I don't know what else I would be doing if it wasn't for this.
Wow, that is really neat to hear. Thank you for sharing. Then let's wrap up with you have as you mentioned, a podcast. It looks like there's three of you, and it's called The
Yeah.
How To Founder. And you have a lot of experience. You said it, how many entrepreneurs you've interviewed, and tell
Oh,
us
yeah.
about that and where people, they can look it up, I'm sure, on the website is howtofounder.com. It's also on YouTube. What's your companies? Where should they try to find you for AI help with your company? Where would they look there?
Actually, the easiest way is you just go to howtofounder.com and there's a big ugly picture of me there. You click on that. That's my LinkedIn profile. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. If you're interested to learn more about really the place people should start is aifirstprinciples.org. And if they're interested in like putting that into practice, that would be wisermethod.com. But all of that's available on my LinkedIn profile.
Okay. I think I understand why you do the podcast, given what you just said, but you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, How to Founder, I'm very active in the entrepreneurial community here in Colorado. And Chris, one of my co-hosts, runs this thing called Denver Founders. And we were at his, it was a meetup. It is a meetup. And I said to him, I want to write an entrepreneurial book. As an entrepreneur, you always run into things for the first time. An employee steals from me. What do I do? And there's no handbook. There's no place to look. So I was like, I want to write the reference manual for founders and I'm going to call it How to Founder. And I'm in. And I said, but I don't want to write the book. And he's, how are we going to do that? I said, we're going to start a podcast together and we're going to pick one topic per episode that's going to write the chapter of the book. And that's all How to Founder is. It's the reference manual for founders when they hit a problem, when they don't know how to go to market, when they don't know how to define the difference. Today, we just did the difference between sales and marketing. Like we're just picking a single topic and diving deep with either between the three of us as the hosts, or we invite expert guests on to talk about their area of expertise. That's what the podcast is. And we just have fun with it. I'm not trying to monetize it. There's no business model behind it. My wife asked me what I'm trying to do, and I said, I don't know. I'm having fun with it.
Same here. I'm not trying to monetize this. I'm having
Yeah.
fun with it.
Yeah.
It's a passion project, a hobby, whatever you want to call it for me. I really have enjoyed this and appreciated you coming on the show, and you've inspired me with, and I think a lot of other people will feel inspired with your thoughts, your wisdom, your passion, your stories. Hey man, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You bet.